We are living in a time where we have a lot of cool and interesting storytelling opportunities that didn't exist 20 or 30 years ago. And video games have exploded over the last 10 years in particular. I remember when I was a kid, you never saw commercials on TV for video games. And now it's like every second commercial is for a video game. Infinity Blade is a video game that was built by friends of mine who went to the same college I went to. And I actually became involved after they'd finished the first game, Infinity Blade, and they came to me and said, our story is really bad. Our characters are really bad. Can you help us? It was exciting to me to be part of this because there is an entire generation of people who don't read many books but do play video games. And being able to reach out to them and try and tell stories for them, I'm a storyteller. That's what I wanted to do, is be able to reach out and reach these people as well. So the video game gave me the opportunity to do some of that. So they had finished the first game, and I wrote these two novellas, the first to explore the main character protagonist, to ask who is this person and how can we give them more depth. The second to explore the antagonist. Who is this villain and how can we give him more depth? And so these stories both take place after the first video game, but there are 3 games. So you honestly, if you really want to get the experience, you play game 1, then you read my novella, then you play game 2, then you read my other novella, then you play the last game. And so it's like a story in 5 parts, where the novellas are parts 2 and 4, though they can be read on their own. I would always prefer that someone read it beginning to end without skipping ahead. That said, the reader is a participant in this art form, meaning my book is not finished until someone has read it. And each reader has absolute control over their version of that story. They will imagine the characters their own way. They will say the names their own way. They will change descriptions in their head as I describe them. Every reader is an author as they are reading that book, and their version is definitive to them. It is what they want it to be, and in the end, I have no authority and really no right to tell them how they should enjoy the story. I had a lot to do with the second game and the third game, the stories, because after I was brought on, I was very involved. Well, with a video game, you have to do it all through dialogue or through visuals. You don't get narrative, it's much like writing a screenplay in that regard. But the other thing is, you have to remember that the player is playing the game to experience the game. And so writing for a video game, you have to make sure that your story comes in little breaks rather than long swaths that are boring. You want it integrated with your story. I do not generally cast people in my books because I think that the best actors often don't necessarily fit the role that they're cast in, but they're able to pull it off. Like, you wouldn't think, oh, this actor, but then when they do it, you're amazed. And that's the skill of an actor, is becoming a role. When I write my books, particularly because they're epic fantasy, the races of the main characters is not always clear, and that's intentional. I like that readers can read the book and kind of decide how the characters look and who they are and things like this. For instance, in Mistborn, I have had different people think that Sazed is white, different people think he is black, and different people think he is Asian. And all 3 are valid interpretations of that character. And once you cast someone into the role, it kind of locks the character into a certain nationality, which is something that is inevitable when a film gets made, but it's not something I'm eager to see done, if that makes sense. So there are people who are buying the movie rights to various works of mine, and one of them is a Chinese company. They have bought The Emperor's Soul, and they're asking about other things. They asked me for cast lists themselves, and I gave a few. One I did mention is that kind of one of my dream actors for Sazed would be Chow Yun-fat. Is that?
Oh my goodness.
Because in my head he looks like Chow Yun-fat. How do you say that in Chinese?
周润发.
Ah, Chow Yun-fa.
Yeah.
That he looks like that.